Well, I think I just really enjoy building companies. A lot of people ask me, why are you doing it again? I think it's because I really love it. I think one of the things about entrepreneurship that comes to mind for me is that it's a silent marathon that you're running alone, without a lot of other marathon participants sometimes. Commerce is going to be a lot of fun. That's the good news. It's going to get a lot more fun. Seamless, fun, personalized, magical. That's the number one word I want to use is magical, because that's what we aspire to, and that's, I think, what will happen.
Welcome to Trailblazers, the podcast where we sit down with contrarian tech leaders who found conventional success in unconventional ways. Today on the show, I am so excited to be joined by Mariam Naficy, a serial entrepreneur and visionary leader known for pioneering new ways to connect creativity, technology, and human expression. Mariam is the founder and chairman of Minted, and now the founder and CEO of Arcade, a platform that uses AI to help people communicate visually, transcending geographic and language barriers to connect creators, artisans, and consumers worldwide. For Mariam, Arcade is a full circle moment. Having grown up overseas exploring marketplaces and bazaars, she developed a lifelong love of handcrafted objects and the stories behind them. At Arcade, she brings that passion to life, using technology to foster deeper human connection. By training models for makers like Christoffel, Bitosi, Ceramiche, Cabana, and Anastasio Home, those are a mouthful, I hope I said those right,
Good job.
As well as manufacturers around the world, Arcade empowers anyone to create meaningful personal objects that reflect individual taste and creativity. Before founding Arcade, Mariam built some of the internet's most influential creative brands over the past several decades. She founded and built Minted, the design marketplace that revolutionized the creator economy and became a several $100 million business, and co-founded Eve.com, the first online cosmetics retailer in the world, in 1998. Who would have thought we are where we are now with the online cosmetics? My goodness. At the heart of her work is the belief that technology, when used thoughtfully, can bring meaning, beauty, and connection into people's lives, as well as create meaningful income for others, such as the Minted artist community. Let's welcome Mariam.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Thanks for being here. What a bio.
Well, yeah, that was a lot, and I've never heard those four names read out so beautifully in one sentence.
You know, I was like really concerned because I saw it coming. Like, you know, when you read and you see the next
like,
line and you're like, wow. I'm ready. Thank you very much. I love it. And it's awesome to hear. You were like the quintessential serial founder. I feel like you are, a lot of people say they are, but you were like the multi-decade build a behemoth, build a behemoth, build a behemoth. Do you identify with that moniker, like serial entrepreneur?
Not particularly. I think I just really enjoy building companies. A lot of people ask me, why are you doing it again?
Yeah.
And it's probably the thing that people most asked me. And I was thinking about it, and I think it's because I really love it. When I graduated from my business school, in my business school class in 1988, believe it or not, I was the only person from that class at Stanford starting a business, because it wasn't popular back then. I just liked it, and it was it was going to be my profession. So it's fun to see the whole world. I mean, really a lot of people wanting to become entrepreneurs. I think it's great. But I really do love building products that people love, and I don't really think so much about what that means about me.
Yeah, I love that. It feels like such an authentic desire. But even the concept of people at Stanford not wanting to go start a business, it's like, it's actually more common to drop out of Stanford to start a business than it is to leave and start a business, to actually graduate. Yeah. Okay, so before we get into the interview, I want to start with an icebreaker.
Okay.
It's a bit of a tough one. We like to go for the hard questions out the gate, okay?
Okay,
We're like,
I'm ready.
We're getting you ready.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you think about your journey so far, we just talked about the past almost 30 years, right? Since 1998, you started Eve. What has been the hardest part of your journey so far? It could be personal, it could be professional, but when you just think back on the past few decades, like what stands out to you is like, wow, that moment almost broke me.
Oh, a specific moment.
Yeah, a moment or, a year. It could be whatever comes to mind.
I think one of the things about entrepreneurship that comes to mind for me is that it's a silent marathon that you're running alone, without a lot of other marathon participants sometimes. I mean, because not everybody is seeing what you're doing as let's say, if you're in the CEO position. Now, it could be a little different if you're a founder in a different position, but the CEO job is a lonesome one because you are privy to everything. And some of it you can't, sort of share the burden that easily with others. So I think that's what comes to mind in terms of the decades. I think it's, let's see, I mean, there are so many moments where the business seems like it's not working. Like, for example, Eve.com, I almost, I'm sorry, actually Minted is as a better example. Minted, we opened our doors and nothing sold at all. And I felt like such a failure. You really get down to these low points where you think, I'm just going to have to pack it up, give the rest of the money back, and go home, if you will. And with Minted, I think we just had this one last idea to save the company, which was to crowdsource, actually to sell holiday cards. So we had crowdsourcing kind of as a side project. What happened with Minted is that it was this transition moment between V1. It turns out later, as they say, as Steve Jobs said, it's much easier to go look back and connect the dots than to look forward and connect the dots. All right, and if you look back, you realize, oh, okay, the point in history I was at with Eve.com was, I wanted to start a business. People were starting to put things online. I decided cosmetics. Well, actually, my partner, who I wanted to start a business with, said, she would only start a business with me if it was the cosmetics online business, which I really appreciate now because it was a great business, it turns out, and it was an immediate success, actually, as opposed to what real life is like as an entrepreneur. That was an unreal, completely surreal experience. But just connecting the dots, the next one, Minted, was a transition moment between the pioneering of V1 of commerce, where all you had to do is put it into a pick and pack facility and put it online, and people would start buying. In a sense, that was what you had to do. And then with Minted, we tried to do that with stationery, put it in a box and ship it, if you will. People were not excited about it because you could just go to the store, buy these same brands, and they were accessible. It wasn't enough of a draw to drive the business because the designs were the same designs you could get in the store. People, didn't really feel that compelled. It was only when we started crowdsourcing as a side gig during the founding of the company, where I was working with just myself with a coder at night to do the fun part of the job that I really was drawn to, that I really was feeling compelled by. That little tiny assortment that was crowdsourced was the assortment that started selling. And I turned it towards holiday cards, and it turned into this massive, overwhelming demand, like an avalanche.
And what were people doing for holiday cards at the time? Were they just going to Costco and printing them there? What was it sounds so crazy, but what did we do before Minted? You know what I mean? I mean, that's when you also create a category. It's I don't know, you make it online. What was the norm before that?
Yeah. Well, actually, the category existed with Shutterfly and OPhoto, which is a really V1 e-commerce company.
I was going to say, I do
you
not
probably
know
never heard of
OPhoto.
it. Yeah.
I definitely know Shutterfly. Shout out Shutterfly.
Yeah. So the category existed, and I thought I was going to take a small niche, a tiny little niche that was a lifestyle business where I could raise my children and have a controllable lifestyle, and a cash flow business is what I thought I was starting. And that's what I had designed. I did not realize that so many, and the whole point was to sort of crowdsource beautiful design from, independent artists and designers all around the world. That was what was really compelling to me, was to start a design competition for some reason. And I couldn't, when I tried to explain that to anybody, including investors, it didn't sound like it made any sense. I'm going to take this money and I'm going to start a design competition online. And all these people are going to start entering the competition, and we'll end up with better design. How do you prove that? You can't prove that to someone who's very financial, who looks at numbers. This is better design than this. Can't you see that? Can't you see it's better design?
Taste. You can't quantify taste.
You can't even explain it, and you sound like you're crazy, basically, if you say that. I think before that, people were really excited that you could digitally print anything, meaning you could send a file to this digital printer and you could produce a quantity of one that was personalized. And that was the big deal, was the technology, and it was very operations and tech driven. And so the people running those companies were very, very ops driven, very tech driven. They weren't design driven. They weren't thinking about the end consumer, the female end consumer who cared a ton about design. They thought about, how do I streamline operations to get you your cards on time, which is important, and maximizing the technology. But they weren't thinking about, how do I take this digital printer and work and squeeze the magic out of it from a design perspective? Should I, I was thinking, in Europe, I was looking at, stationery stores where the backers of all the personalized stationery had beautiful marbleized patterns on the back of them. Mm-hmm. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we could if we could bring that to mass-produced stationery, really thick paper, very cottony. And so I would go out and personally go and find the cottony paper. It was like a labor of love. Asking designers to submit backer designs so it looked beautiful when you turned it over. All of these things needed to be brought to the industry that weren't there yet. And I think, honestly, we'll talk about this, I'm sure, later, but right now AI is a lot about the wow, but not necessarily about the taste. And that's what I hope to bring to this new age.
Yeah. Well, like we were saying, it is very hard to quantify. And so I think when you have more of like a financial mindset or an ops mindset,
or a tech mindset.
Or a tech mindset, let's say you're like a coder of some kind. You don't always think to optimize for beautiful design. But I completely agree with you that it's going to be more and more important as time goes on. That's absolutely for sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about this like idea of crowdsourcing. I think, when you say crowdsourcing, people that are listening might think of like a Kickstarter, GoFundMe type.
Yeah.
But what you're really talking about is crowdsourcing from local artisans. How did you find them? How did you convince them to bet on you? What's in it for them? Tell me a little bit more about that piece.
Yeah. Starting a community, I started the Minted community person by person, literally calling an artist I knew and telling them about the design competition coming up, and then asking them if they could tell their friends. And at that time, I think I saw this game of design ping pong that was happening where designers would ping pong designs to each other for fun. I thought, oh, designers like to play games too, just like the rest of us. And also, my entire mother's family are all artists and designers. So I just had a lot of sympathy and empathy for people who put themselves out there and take risk. Like, it's a very personal thing to put your design out there because you're almost like, I almost feel like you're naked. You're like showing something about yourself that other people are going to be able to see. And I think that's incredibly courageous. Anyway, so I built bit by bit, got a few people together. Then the first competition happened. Then one of them called me and said, I've had a terrible experience. So I said, well, is there any way you could talk to me? And she said, I could talk to you on Saturday. And she just, gave me a huge amount of negative feedback about the competition. And I asked her, could you please think about, okay, I'll change this is great feedback. Feedback is a gift.
What was the main feedback? Like, what was the biggest issue? I mean, it seems like pretty benign. How could it be so terrible?
I think that I honestly, I don't remember what the feedback was.
You blocked it out.
I blocked it out.
It was so hard to hear.
But the funny thing is that she entered again. She won the next competition. She was then fired from the stationery store she worked for joining our competitions because it started really succeeding, right? People were worried, I think, because they saw the designs coming in were fantastic. And she called me right before Christmas and said, I've been fired. And I said, I don't have any money to hire you, but I'm going to hire you anyway as my customer service manager. So she came and became the customer service manager. Flash forward, I don't know how many years it's been, 15 years. No, actually probably 17 years. She became my creative director eventually. This is the person who called me to give me the feedback.
Incredible. But she cared.
She cared a ton. And she was really never afraid to give me feedback, which is why we got along so well, because she could be always honest with me. And she's also brilliant on top of that. And so then she became merchandising head, then creative director for the brand. And now she's the creative director for a venture capital incubator.
Ooh.
And so she went all the way from the stationery store and entering our competitions to this. And it's great to see that progression.
Wow, that's really incredible. I probably know the venture capital incubator.
Yeah, you probably
and I've probably
do.
seen, I'm like, wow, that's beautiful design.
You would love her. I think you'd love her. She's
oh my
great.
God, that's absolutely amazing. So, so you told me, the hard moment was you launched and it was crickets.
Yes.
And then you have these design competitions.
Yep.
When do you realize, oh wow, we're onto something? Is it a competition goes viral? Is it one holiday season? Tell me, or was it one specific design? What was the moment where you were like, oh, maybe we're onto something and maybe this will be okay? And maybe this won't be a cash flowing lifestyle business. Maybe this will be a hundreds of millions of dollar business. Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't answer your question before, so let me just finish that one, which is, so what I did to build the community was I went out to meet with community members all over the country.
Okay.
So I would have meetups everywhere in every city, a lot of cities all over the country and eventually the world.
And are you saying stationery designers? I mean, it seems like a small...
It's a small community. And there was at that time a national stationery show, which then folded, which then we became the sort of default community, we have Camp Minted every year to bring people together, and but I would just go out and have coffee or drinks, and everywhere all over the U.S. have meetups with artists and talk to them and designers and understand what their challenges were, what they were struggling with, and I felt that was a very strong thread of commonality across designers, graphic designers, illustrators, and artists, all over the world, where often they would say, because of, I remember going to Denver and people were saying we have to design a lot of beer commercials, and then I'd go to Hawaii and people would be like, we just keep having to design tourism posters, and it was just custom businesses are hard when you have custom clients, independent, they would all have the same challenges, and so I kept trying to listen and make it better and better and better. And really, the first part was really building the idea of a peer critique, and that you could get a peer critique from other designers. You would obviously win cash prizes, but you would also earn a peer critique.
So there was something even if you don't win, because
exactly.
so few people are winning. Yeah.
And I really believe in education and learning, that people want to aspire to learning, and so we tried to provide a learning experience. Then it kept transitioning to sort of, okay, now there's a lot of revenue coming in, a lot of commissions coming in. That was never the purpose. In the beginning, money was not the way we built the community. We built it on all these other things. Then, of course, the revenue started coming in, and then surprisingly, people became really good friends with each other. And we really tried to make sure that it was a supportive community. So I sort of asked people to pay it forward. If someone helps you, please help them. Infuse the community with a spirit and values that I thought were the right ones.
But it's also good for business. I mean, there's this undertone of referral.
Yes.
My brain's like, ooh, that's interesting. I got to figure out that wording that you had, because it's a growth hacking mechanism in addition to being a great community building mechanism.
That's right. And then when the business went viral, the business was a sudden success. So first it was a really big failure. Again, no orders. Then what I did was I noticed at the back of the women's magazines that were still in existence back then, like Cookie, which was a mom's magazine, which was super cute. I loved Cookie. Or
it's a great name for a magazine, too.
It was great. It was so great. I loved it. And also Domino, which was a home decor magazine, that at the back there were these little ads that were like a quarter page or a half page or even an eighth of a page. And you would notice them, especially if the type was big and bold. So I was like, who sells these things? It's like a remnant. It's almost like buying a remnant rug. You could buy a remnant ad. So I found the agency that sold them, and I said, I want to be your buyer of last resort. So if you have a last minute half page, quarter page, call me, and I'll make an ad in an hour for you. And so I would sit down when I got the call and make an ad with our creative, we had an in-house artist, and he and I would make the ad together. I would write it and he would design it, and then we'd have the ad out in an hour. And as a result, we sort of got cut rate pricing on millions of impressions, through these magazines. That started the holiday card madness. And I remember it was independent, a unique design from independent artists, luxe paper and printing, customized to you. It was like the 3-step sort of value proposition that we repeated over and over and over again. It's just so that people would really understand a new brand like ours. And all of a sudden the orders started, but we hadn't even prepared for the volume we started getting. So it was like a wave, like a big tsunami wave that started. First we had no orders. It's quiet. The tsunami wave starts in November, and people started having to bring their spouses into work to help us because there was no manpower, person power.
I feel like that's the sign of product market fit. Especially if you have a physical product, it's how often do the spouses and siblings
have to come in? And we're all sitting on the floor trying to process all the orders. And then I remember there's the phone. Oh, I remember saying, coming home, to be honest with you, I did not enjoy operations class at business school because I didn't think I was going to be doing this job.
Okay.
And so I didn't really think too hard about I feel like I almost failed the class. Okay, so I come home one night and I talk to my husband about how much volume we're getting. And he says, well, have you reached your maximum throughput capacity yet?
Yeah.
And I said, well, I can't remember how to calculate that, honestly. So we sat down with a sheet of paper, I remember, at the kitchen table, and he was asking me all these questions.
Did he go to business school also?
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
We went to school together, and he's like, you've reached that today. If you don't shut your orders off tomorrow, you'll never be able to dig out and catch up before Christmas, based on what you just told me. And so I had to run to the office the next day. I was like, shut off all the advertising. We had like a little bit of Google cost per click advertising running, and we had a little bit of online advertising. And the phone was ringing constantly off the hook. So I picked up the phone at one point, and this woman had been waiting for 2 hours, and she said, "It's so weird. Yesterday I saw this ad online for Lux paper and printing, and now I can't find it online. It's so weird."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Wait, you've been waiting on the line for 2 hours?" She's like, "Is this the company that makes holiday cards with Lux paper?" Literally quoting from our ad. I was like, "Oh my God, we have something here." Who waits on the phone for 2 hours to get these holiday cards? It was astonishing. So that's when I really thought that was a sign.
Yeah. I mean, you're pointing to a lot of little signs. These are good like business lessons for people. Like, okay, the sibling's coming in. Okay, a customer waiting for 2 hours. Like these are all.
Yeah.
One thing that's funny too is, the operations thing. I think a lot of people don't realize there's actually a lot of formulas to this stuff. Like when I stand in an airport line, and I'm always like, oh my gosh, like these lines should be moving faster. Yeah. There's the bottleneck. There's this. You can actually calculate a lot of this stuff. And that is the beauty of business school. It's the beauty of going to a place like GSB and getting those chops,
As long as you're listening to the class and really paying attention. I was so interested in the entrepreneurship classes that I get it. Yeah. I didn't think I was actually going to be moving physical things around and producing things. That was not something that occurred to me.
But wasn't Eve, and tell me if I'm wrong, but that was kind of that, like an online cosmetics retailer, or was it more of like a drop shipping kind of business?
No, you're right. We did warehouse. We did take inventory, and then we shipped. I think what was so complicated, and what is so complicated about Minted, is you're producing custom products for people at peak. So that is a level of operational complexity that is a significant barrier to entry to get into the business. It is so difficult because I didn't understand this term build the church for Easter Sunday until I had to build that operation.
That's a good line.
Yeah,
I've never heard that.
It's so cool because what it means is you have to build the church to maximum capacity for Easter, apparently, and then the church might be emptier the rest of the year.
Totally. Yeah, that's a great line. I think we need that on like a pillow or something. That's pretty funny. On Trailblazers, we spotlight founders who succeed by doing things differently, not by following the playbook, but by rewriting it. Many of those unconventional builders and the VCs backing them run on Brex because it helps them scale with speed and focus. From smart corporate cards and high-yield banking to AI-powered expense management, Brex gives startups the financial stack they need from day one so they can spend more time building and less time managing back-office operations. More than 30,000 companies, from breakout startups like Anthropic and Cursor to global leaders like DoorDash and Plaid, trust Brex to help them spend smarter and move faster. That's why we, as a venture firm and also the podcast, run on Brex too. Sign up at brex.com/trailblazerspod to get started and claim exclusive rewards. That's brex.com/TRAILBLAZERSPOD. RocketReach is the leading sales and lead intelligence solution trusted by sales, marketing, recruiting, and business development teams to grow their businesses. Whether you're looking for a developer halfway around the world, a C-level executive in New York, or a potential investor in Silicon Valley, we connect you directly. With RocketReach, you can easily access the most comprehensive, accurate compilation of emails and phone numbers on Earth. That puts you in front of the right people faster and backs you up with a database that reaches across industries, markets, and titles, using AI to continually improve the quality of your contacts. With RocketReach, you can reach anyone so you can reach higher. Many of you know I love cold outreach. It's been the root of many of my success so far, and this is the tool that I've used the whole time. Trailblazer listeners get 15% off any plan at rocketreach.co/trailblazers. That's rocketreach.co/trailblazers. So I want to talk about Minted is scaling for a while, but then we hit COVID. And from the looks of it, as an outsider, you tell me that you stepped into more of a chairman position at Minted to take on your next adventure, which had a little venture flair, which I kind of didn't know about until I was digging. Tell me a little bit about when you decided to sort of switch roles within Minted, and then as someone who is such a serial founder, what was the calculus in your head to start Heretic, which is what you ended up doing next for a little?
Yeah, I think it was just simply wanting to do. I'd built the business for 16 years, And, I'd founded the company. It was very much a solo journey for several years as founder and CEO. I did take our director of finance and offered her a co-founder title in order to retain her. So I did then have somebody a couple years in who became more and more of a, sort of, I would say, in the trenches with me. But it had been a long journey, and I really wanted to spend time with my kids before they left for college. I'd been raising kids the entire time, and Minted was like a third child that had taken a lot of time away from my first two children. Because my daughter was born right when I started Minted. I was pregnant when I was writing the business plan.
Well, this wasn't part of the plan. You were supposed to be like the mom with the cash flowing business.
Exactly. It was supposed to be the lifestyle business, and it was not a lifestyle business. Instead, I was managing customer service at 1 a.m, closing down the holiday shifts with a 1-year-old, And so I was, it was definitely not a lifestyle business. It was really tough operationally to build this business, to get it to the quality that people want and deserve, and the artists deserve too. But I loved it. It was really a job of passion where I loved the company and the brand so much, and would do anything for it.
Well, it was so you. It sounds like. I mean, we'll get into what you're doing with Arcade now, but so much of your whole story is about community and local makers and giving them an opportunity to make money and like all this stuff. It's carried through even, you started something new, It's the same concept.
Yeah, I think Minted Eve was less of an expression of me, and it was less something that I was actually passionate about, cosmetics. I mean, it was fun, honestly, for a year trying every product that on the planet.
Yeah.
But then it was not as interesting to me. And that made me less emotionally attached to it. So that when it was time to sell right at the right time, people don't realize this, but we sold 2 weeks before the big .com bubble burst, which meant that, all of our investors and our employees made, a cash return on the business. And that was everybody. And no, I did not see the future coming, but it was more that we started finding that it was a little harder to raise rounds. We raised for Eve.com, we raised 3 rounds, 26 million in 1 year. Yeah. And that was when I was, 28. So, with Eve, we exited successfully, and that was very fast. With Minted was more of a passion business. It was really tough, really a labor of love, and a lot of it had to do with seeing what was happening with to the designers and artists' lives, which I cared a lot about.
Yeah.
And I kept going and going because I love the brand and I love the artists, but and I really love the people we hired and grew over time, many of whom are still leaders at the company. But I needed a personal break, and I also thought, I didn't expect to be running this business for 16 years. I want to be able to do some other things in my life so that I've had like a well-rounded experience.
Yeah.
And it was really that. It was just wanting to do something different, taking a little time off. Then I started Heretic, and the idea was to have an incubation fund. With technology improving, perhaps you could launch businesses more cheaply. Of course, right now, it's unfettered, and we still have Heretic Fund, the fund, which is great. But what happened was the classic venture incubator thing, which I'd been told would happen, which is you might end up finding a business you want to start, and you might have to start it. You might be the person who should start it, and that's what happened with Arcade.
That's always how it goes. I mean, I feel like over and over again, people say, no, we're going to try a lot of things. We'll put another CEO in place.
Right.
And what ends up happening is all the stuff you start have such a connection to you. And then when something really starts to hit, you're like, why am I not going to benefit from that? I want to go.
Yeah, or you can't find someone with the exact, because you constructed it around what you know.
Yeah.
And then the
bar's
problem
so
is,
high.
Yeah, and then you're the exact person who can run it because you constructed it around all the things that you know best, right? Like for me, supply chain, make on demand, supply chain, taste, designers and artists,
I mean, it's like 2.0, but a little bit more timely.
Yeah.
Was there like a thesis for like Heretic or Heretic?
Heretic.
Mm-hmm. Heretic. Was there like a thesis for it, like a certain type of business that we're going to be incubating, or was it really just like whatever we think is interesting, we're going to try?
We thought that we would focus, and we think we should focus on consumer businesses that are tech driven and be pretty broad, but broad in the certain sense of any new technology but narrow in the sense of focusing on consumers. And you can tell that I've spent my entire life trying to bring new technology to female consumer audiences, which is what I really enjoy, which is to take the printer and go, don't print this really schlocky paper, print something really beautiful, print on pretty paper, really nice paper with some really beautiful images. And, we took that 5x7 white card, just a simple white card, and we built several $100 million off that.
Yeah.
Because I think it gets back to me, the content is king. And content is everything. And content also means the beauty of a designed, rug or, that's also to me somewhat content versus the actual wool that it is, printed on or woven into. It's the content that matters.
How do you think about, so I hear you, content is king. I'm thinking of that as like the product needs to be great. The product needs to be beautiful. But how do you think about like the education piece? So like I've been a Minted customer before I knew this was happening. You're very welcome. I am getting married soon, so I did my save the dates on Minted.
Oh, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I did my thank you notes. But what was interesting, and I'll be so honest with you, is I didn't realize that it was a community of artisans. I thought it was the original Minted idea, which is I'm buying beautiful stationery online. So I buy these thank you notes, and then I get my package, and I have a note from someone that says, thank you so much. You supported a local business. And it's a photo of this beautiful woman who I guess made my thank you notes. And so I'm curious about, and I think this is really relevant for what you're doing with Arcade now too, like how important is having a great product, a really high quality, Minted card or Arcade product, Arcade rug, let's say, versus educating people on where it's coming from and who you're supporting. Like, how do you think about that? Because I've used Minted, and I've used Minted even before. I didn't know, I'm busy. I'm just kind of like looking online and buying stuff.
Right. Yes. I think it's a multi-layered brand experience. And I do think the best brands have an emotional resonance and connection where people have to sort of my test for a great brand is that it's unmistakably you. You can't be mistaken for anybody else. And you can't see the sort of ad, cover the logo and say that could be anyone. And so the key that we were always trying to talk about was the community of artists. But I found that, 18 years ago when I started the company in my attic with a sheet of paper, literally, I think that Gen Xers were a little bit less, I perceive them to be a little less interested in the community. We were trying to make people interested, but then when the millennials started buying from us and coming of age, and by the way, all of my employees were millennials because I could only afford to hire 22-year-olds when I started the business.
A lot of people say.
So everybody was a millennial except for me, and so I would say that millennials, when we started to have, we always brought in focus groups. We talked to the customer constantly. The whole business is built on customer surveys, customer research. The tone shifted when millennials began to buy from us, and they really cared more about the community. So we sort of we tried really hard to make it known, but it's a bit hard because we're a managed marketplace in a sense. It's not as easy to figure out that what you're doing is supporting an independent artist. It's just going to have to be a journey with constant investment in the brand and bringing those artisan stories to life, which I think we can do even more of, to really bring that point home.
Totally.
Yeah.
Who I think has actually been doing a really good job of this is Lovable.
Yes.
I don't know how much you know that team or what they're doing, but it's been interesting to see because they are, great software to help people build apps. And a lot of their marketing this year has been pivoting towards the stories of the people that are, there's one guy who's like selling cakes on demand or something. And a lot of their marketing has been about this cake guy. So when you think of Lovable, you think of the cake guy, you think of all these different people. So yeah, I think they've done a great job. But it's hard. It's really hard because you also want people to like know what the product is. And if you spend too much time focusing on the community, there's the argument that like you won't really know what the underlying product is because you're so focused on the other examples.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Arcade, which is what you're doing now, which I'm so excited about. And maybe before we get into that, are the artisans on Arcade more 9 to 5 or 5 to 9? Now that we're kind of talking about this theme, because as you're saying it, I think it's maybe easier isn't the right word, but it feels like the right word, easier to create stationary 5 to 9 because it's more of just like a beautiful design file that you submit versus the caliber of products that you guys are creating on Arcade. Like it seems like, or I guess the artisans are creating, seems like much heavier of a lift. So maybe they are more like master, artisans and they do that more 9 to 5. So just as a quick aside before we get into arcade, which one is it, do you think?
I think it is much easier for illustrators, designers to do the 5 to 9. Although we do have some people who have said, I'm just quitting my day job and I am going to focus entirely on my design business. And they'll submit to Minted. They'll also run a custom business off their website. We really try to push their brand name forward. Many of them have actually achieved, licensing deals with Target and other companies, and we hope that we've helped them along their way. And so those some of them have shifted to becoming 9 to 5 after joining our community. Interestingly, they started as 5 to 9 and they quit their job, like a lawyer who quit her job to become an artist, for example. With the artisans on Arcade, they are more 9 to 5 because they are literally spending the day making these products, and sometimes almost all of them by hand or with a very hand-driven technique. So that's more of their full-time profession. And many of them, I think almost all of them, are family businesses, smaller to mid-sized companies, but mostly what we would consider small. And they are all, that's their main gig.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at the caliber and also the price point, it's like this is like real art that they're creating.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about Arcade. Tell us what made you start it, what made you say, I'm ditching this incubator and I'm going all in on Arcade.
Yeah, I think it was the idea that I think that commerce, when I saw Dolly late 2022, and I really wanted to start something in AI almost immediately, but it couldn't get to it. I started it in really early sort of spring 23. I looked at the sort of images and thought, first of all, people are going to want some of these artifacts physically because they're so beautiful. And second, I felt that I've always really liked empowering individuals to make a living because that's a theme for me, individual empowerment and respectful work and giving people like dignified, respectful work that they love. And so I thought, well, the whole commerce chain could collapse into one person based on AI. You could see that happening, and you could sort of say, well, there could be someone, for example, like an influencer or someone who has a great audience and can sell, would actually be able to envision their own product now and become a business of one. And then the entire chain would collapse into like this one person. And then I would want to enable that person to make whatever they want, whatever they can envision. And so that was what really excited me, that you could empower anyone to design a product. It could also be, for example, an individual merchant inside a retailer could want to design a product but never had the sort of tools to be able to say, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I'd like to launch in my spring collection. So I thought just empowerment in general was exciting.
Yeah, it's extremely exciting. How often, so this is one thing that, like me being like a kid at heart, I would probably type in something that I didn't think was physically possible to make. Because it's so fun to imagine, like, what does it look like? A rug with this texture and this whatever. Yeah. How often do you find that people are even like pushing the bounds of like product creation? Because I hear you on this like empowerment piece. Yep. It's like, you can envision, this new kind of like dress that you want to exist. But dresses have always existed, and that's going to happen regardless. How often do you think with Arcade, now that you're a couple years in, you're seeing that actually like totally new types of products are being created and people are creating things that you didn't expect would be with this certain material because now they can just play with it and see?
Yeah, I think it's incredible to see the prompts coming from all over the world in all sorts of different languages. And of course, AI helps you translate everything. So we're seeing prompts in every possible language. It's incredible. I think that most often I'm seeing people really playing with it and really pushing the boundaries. Not very many people, once they get started, that is, they start realizing what they can do and they start pushing the boundaries. So it's most of all, it's boundary pushing or things that are like super custom and personal to them. Sometimes it's, for example, lost jewelry. Like somebody had an engagement ring stolen from a hotel recently and came and basically had it redesigned and replaced. Instantly got sort of what they wanted in terms of an image and a price and was able to replace it. Or like lost earrings, for example, or lost anything really. There's a lot of lost jewelry apparently. So it's either that type of sort of a practical need. It's a customized gift. Sometimes people are really, you could see that they're putting names and dates on their items. Or it's very wild. or an artist who said she wanted, actually one of the minted artists came and bought something recently, and it was a ring that she just needed, a ring that was sort of comfortable and could sit comfortably on her finger and had the specific design and a pearl on it, and it was really beautiful. So it's really a whole range of, I think it's a whole range of drivers, but some people are really pushing the bounds.
It's incredible. It's funny you say that too, because I think, for myself, like I love the look of the emerald ring or the emerald stone all the way around a ring, but it's very uncomfortable when you wear it.
Yes.
But let's say I do want what this minted, artist bought. There's no way for me to type that in on Google. Right. Like I would like this ring that looks like this, but please make it comfortable and sit flat, like flush. It's not possible actually to have that search experience currently.
Yeah.
So it's amazing that you guys provide that for people.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about the most successful artisan on Arcade. You don't have to name them specifically. Maybe you can pick one of the top 5.
Yep.
But what has been the most exciting example of someone where maybe they've been able to take their business to new heights? Maybe they've, had the idea and they live somewhere really far away and they've reached a mass audience. I'd love to hear a little bit more about like who is getting a lot of benefit out of Arcade on the artisan side.
Yeah. So the artisan side, I would say that jewelry is actually very popular.
Okay, jewelry.
Because people are like it's a lot about self-expression. And I'm thinking of one of the jewelers who's had a lot of orders. And she really enjoys the fact that, for example, one buyer designed a pair of earrings and keeps reordering them over and over to give them as gifts. And this client is a celebrity. And so she's really excited because she's basically corresponding directly with a celebrity, and this person loves the earrings so much that she keeps ordering them over and over. So I think it's both business but also validation that she was able to bring something to life that this person who she admires really wanted to see come into the world. So it's really neat to see somebody who the celebrity has never been able to actually design something herself. She's always worn things that other people have designed, but she has the agency now to design something herself, and she wants to take the wheel, which is cool. I think it's
cool.
I think it's great if you have had to market things your whole life, and all of a sudden you get to be the person who designs it. And same with really anyone who's selling anything design oriented. You can actually do the designing yourself or tweak it the way you really want it.
It reminds me, there was this one girl in high school who was always buying clothes at Goodwill and like changing them up.
So cool.
And like, whether it was like a patchwork jean or it was like an army jacket, like she would always have these like N of one creations. And I thought that was so special. What's your take on like the future of commerce? Like, I think of myself, and I am very creative in certain ways, but like creating my own clothes or creating my own things like that, that gives me so much anxiety. Like in my dream world, someone picks for me what I wear because I want to be creative in other ways.
Yeah.
But then there's some people like this girl from my high school who is, even with all the constraints, she's still like going to Goodwill, spending 10 hours making her own product. What do you think the future of commerce looks like for this like next generation? Let's say Arcade scales like crazy, takes over the world. Like, are a lot of people going to be creating their own products? Are people still going to want big retailers to tell them what to wear and tell them what trends are? I don't know if you have like a larger philosophical point of view on this, but and even like home decor. Like I saw this gorgeous rug on Arcade this morning, and I was like, wow, like would I want to create my own rug? Like, no, that rug looks good, but maybe I wanted a little this color. Tell me a little bit about like what design looks like, what taste looks like in this next generation.
Yeah. Well, with that rug example, I think, I'll be honest, a lot of times I see what the community is creating, and I just buy that on Arcade because there's a community aspect to creation that I think is really exciting. So I've done a lot of like looking at what other people bought, startled by what people are designing and saying, okay, I'm going to buy that. It looks great. Commerce is going to be a lot of fun. That's the good news. It's going to get a lot more fun. Commerce is going to get a lot more fun, and I think we're not really there yet. But what I see is a future that is going to be much easier to transact and buy, a lot more seamless, magical, personalized. So you're really going to feel like one day you're going to walk in everywhere and see. You're going to feel like you have the ultimate concierge experience no matter where you go. And they're going to know your size. It's going to be a fantastic experience. Actually, that's my prediction. It will take a couple of years to get there, because it's going to take a while to build those tools. And then, there will be some brands and retailers who choose to adopt those tools faster than others. And I think those will likely, take market share. And actually at Arcade, we have a number of brands and manufacturers who've come to us and said, can we have these tools? And we're saying, we're actually saying yes, and we're actually helping them now. So we built the world's first sort of design agent called Maya, my AI assistant, which helps you, you can type in what you want. The design agent is actually helping you design a product, which is the first time that's been possible. But next comes visualization, styling, et cetera. So I think having talked to a number of retailers who've come to us and said, can we please have the technology and have some of this, and the models, the custom maker models, et cetera, because we train maker models, on every single maker that's on the platform has their own model, so that when you prompt, the thing that comes out is actually manufacturable. Otherwise, you're not sure, is it manufacturable or not?
Yeah, like the constraints are just not possible to create. Yeah.
That's right. So you have to take the underlying image models and change them to be constrained by manufacturing possibility. And that is a whole depth of research. We have an incredible research team that specializes in image models, that does that takes underlying foundational models and makes what comes out specific to us as shoppers, which is a completely different purpose. So I would say yes, commerce will be seamless, fun, personalized, magical. That's the number one word I want to use, is magical, because that's what we aspire to, and that's, I think, what will happen. And I think you'll see it, especially with this year's coding tools like Claude Code, which I have nothing to do with Anthropic or Claude.
Not sponsored by Anthropic.
I'm not sponsored here, but I would just say that it's really a huge unlock, and that if you're an entrepreneur now, the age has never been better for the single entrepreneur. So for those people out there listening to this who are starting and thinking about entrepreneurship, I wish I'd had these tools as my 28-year-old me starting Eve.com, rather than building a custom website.
Yeah, Shopify didn't exist back then.
No Shopify. This is the time. This is the age where we'll have incredible entrepreneurs emerge because of the coding tools that are available. And the great thing is, they don't have to be engineers. So I would also predict you're going to see a lot more women entrepreneurs in this age because of that. Because, coding right now is still, tilted towards men. So I think you'll see a lot of women starting businesses for women because they understand women, and women drive something like 70% of all consumer purchases.
I think it's closer to 80.
80. Sorry, you're right. 80.
It's even higher. Come on, let's do
Let's do it.
80.
Yeah, 80%.
Yeah.
And so I think you'll see a lot of women entrepreneurs emerge from this era.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, and I'm so excited about that non-technical archetype.
Mm-hmm.
One last question on this. You talk about training the models to understand. You're calling them to be maker models, which I think is very interesting that they can be created in real life. But what about taste? So this kind of brings us full circle from what we talked about at the start.
Mm-hmm.
How do you train Maya, as an example, to have taste? Because this is the thing that, I get pitched all the time. And it's something I think a lot about, because taste is so unquantifiable. How do you guys think about it? What's your take on it? Will it get easier with time? Have you found something that kind of works? Talk to me a little bit about that. How do we create and code in taste in these models, especially because it's all about design and about unique taste?
Yeah, it's super subjective. And so it's hard to say, to really say this is taste, right? Because everybody has different taste. There is through my work at Minted with, we'd have 6,000 holiday card entries, and we'd have a million votes cast. You could sort of see the distribution of how people consider a design. And there is overall a bulk of people who agree, generally, if a design is low, medium, or high in terms of design quality. There is sort of a general consensus, actually. So even though it's subjective, there is a zeitgeist at the moment, usually culturally, and you kind of want to be right at that sort of bulk, or a little bit ahead of it, just a tiny edge, a little tiny bit to the right of the curve. And so you're a little bit on the cutting edge, but you're not so far ahead that people don't get it at all. So the way that I think about taste for arcade and the models. We've trained curation models, like we call them eye of the beholder models, where you take people whose taste you really like and you actually apply those to what you show and what you show on the site, et cetera. So that's one approach. The other really big thing is the data that goes in. The data I found is critical. And so, to really create tasteful outputs, you really need the data to be fantastic. And that means like some unfair advantage you have in either creating or having access to great data.
Yeah, it's funny, like, as just such an outsider, I'm thinking, like, I want to infuse a bunch of images from, like, Architectural Digest, and I want to, like all those, like, celebrity homes, But then with taste, you want it to be, like you said, cutting edge. You don't want everyone to have it yet. So it's this just tricky balance of, like, where you get your inputs, because you want it to be things that are viewed as credible and beautiful.
Right.
And fancy and expensive, but then you also want it to not be overdone.
Yeah.
Like there's some art pieces that I see now in people's homes. I'm like, oh my God, everyone has that. But at one point,
right.
It was really cool.
Yes. And the foundational image models are trained on everything on the internet. And the problem with that is that it creates a lot of dated looks in jewelry. Like if you look at the foundational image models and you try to prompt jewelry, it looks very dated.
Because it's probably weighting the stuff from like 1995 the same way it's weighting it from 23.
Yeah. And even if it's, even if they've tried to adjust, I found that the goods don't look sort of what a sort of, I would say, fashion trend forward person right now would want. Same with the rugs, actually. So with rugs, we'll go through all the manufacturers' rugs and actually select out what's going to actually be best at training their model. And also you have to scale the people to do that work, and that was a critical thing that I sort of did at Minted and I'm doing now again, which is to select the right merchants, people with a taste. So the key thing is you have to have the taste to select the taste selectors, and that is the critical thing. And so you
human in the loop. You need the taste selector.
Ultimately, I found it very interesting. The model companies where I believe that there is a very tasteful eye. For example, let's say Nano Banana. The Nano Banana team, I feel like from what I've learned or gleaned, I feel like those folks have a good eye, actually, the people working on it, versus some other models. So, and you can even see within an organization when the team shifts, the next version of the model can reduce or increase in taste. I've said to track the team and the foundational models and what happens to the foundational model outputs. It's a lot about people's decisions as to what data is going in. So, the critical thing for us is to apply the sort of interview process and the testing that's required to select the person who's going to select the data. That's really the key thing that I'm bringing.
Very meta.
It's very meta, and it's very much about recruiting people.
Yeah.
And how you run your recruiting process for people.
Yeah, but the issue with a lot of these companies is they hire pretty much strictly technical talent, and for better or worse, it's quite hard to find someone who has is like the technical skills and more of like this like taste subjective creative skills. I mean, we all probably can think in our heads of the person that like fits both archetypes.
Yes.
That blend is so hard though. I mean, I say this as someone that like looks for founders that can ideally have all of it.
Yes.
It's like, oh my
super
God.
hard. Right brain, left brain.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And commerciality.
Yes,
that.
Exactly.
If you work in venture or startups, you know the constant juggling act. Replying to messages from co-investors, founders, LPs, customers, and teammates all hitting your personal number. I know this very well. We all hand out our cell, which means your EA can't help an iMessage, and important threads get buried. That's why I'm very excited about Quo, formerly OpenPhone. It's built for founders and investors like us who want communication that feels personal but stays organized. Quo gives you a dedicated business line on your existing cell phone. And if you already have a business number, you can bring it with you for free. Plus, you'll get call summaries, transcripts, and an AI voice agent called Sona that can answer and schedule when you're offline. We're actually cooking up something fun with the Quo team right now and using that same voice AI tech in a new way for our firm. More soon, but it's a great reminder that you can use voice AI to stay top of mind of your customers' needs. Quo is trusted by over 90,000 businesses and rated /1 on G2 for customer satisfaction. You can get 20% off your first 3 months at quo.com/trailblazers. That's quo.com/trailblazers. So I've actually used Gusto at 3 different companies, and every time it's been such a relief. It's simple, it's reliable, and my paycheck was always on time. No drama. And unlike the big clunky payroll systems out there, Gusto is online payroll and benefit software specifically built for small businesses. It's all-in-one, remote-friendly, and incredibly easy to use, so you can pay, hire, onboard, and support your team from anywhere. For smaller startups in particular, I have found that it's the most affordable and easy to set up option, and it's the one that we recommend to all of our startups at our firm. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/trailblazers and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/trailblazers. One more time, gusto.com/trailblazers. Amazing. Well, let's get into our lightning round.
Okay.
I could keep peppering you with questions, but I want to get to the lightning
This is
round. Okay. So, book in hand or podcast in ears?
Podcast in ears.
Okay. Do you have a favorite? You can't say Trailblazers. I know you were dying to say it.
Okay. I like No Priors. I like, I listen to Audible a lot. That's what I meant more, that I listen to books versus read books. So I listen to books all the time.
Any recent favorites?
I'm reading King of Kings about the Iranian Revolution and what led to it.
Timely.
Yes, very timely.
Very timely.
Yes.
Heavy but timely.
Yes.
Morning person or night owl?
Night owl.
Okay.
Very.
Is it because you have like flow state at that time? Why
I think
is
it's
it?
my chronotype. It's just, I think a sleep doctor told me once that I just have a longer than a 24-hour cycle. And so, some people have a shorter cycle and they have to go to bed early. And I have a longer cycle, probably like a 26-hour cycle. So I'm unfortunately unable to go to sleep before probably midnight at the earliest.
Wow. Wow. Cooking dinner or ordering in?
Ordering in right now, although if I'm less busy, I prefer to cook. But right now I'm ordering in.
And do you have a favorite spot you like to order from?
I'm in San Francisco. I love sushi. So Sushi Shio, or I like the Italian Homemade Company. I don't know. I'm a live to eat person, not an eat to live person.
You know what? I'm the exact same way. I think that's unfortunately like the founder personality sometimes.
Passion.
Yeah, exactly. VC or bootstrapping?
I'm probably more bootstrap.
Okay, tell me more about that.
I think it's better for you to try to bootstrap first than to go raise too much money. Generally, of course, I didn't do that with Arcade because I was handed a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I might as well take it. It's preemptive. But I think generally it's probably better. You end up with more, it's less dilutive, et cetera. But you have to look at the circumstances. It's all very circumstantial. Like, if it's a non-competitive space like Minted where nobody is looking at stationery, okay, fine. You can build it organically, et cetera, and maintain a lot of ownership. If it's the situation that we're in right now with AI, or like with Eve.com, which was a huge land grab, it was a complete land grab moment. You had to kind of get out there, raise the 26 million, get the TV ads going. That's just what we did, and be number one in the market, which is what we did with Eve, the number one, cosmetics retailer online. With this, with Arcade, I think we're in the same moment.
Yeah, I think people don't talk enough about how the calculus is just market. Like, how new is the market? How new is the technology? And if you have to go quickly, like, capital's the only way.
Right. Right.
Yeah. A lot of your investors are the best, by the way.
Thank you.
You have like a really great cap table.
I love them.
A lot of my friends and a lot of amazing women.
I love my investors at Arcade. They're fantastic.
They're amazing. Yeah. That's the beauty of being in the business for a while. You can pick and choose.
That's right. That's right.
I always say, like, the founders on their third or fourth go around, I'm like, oh, they've picked the best.
You learn so much from the scars on your back from, like, if you're, by the time you get to your third company, you've seen every kind of investor, you've seen every kind of behavior, and you really learn.
Yeah, totally. It's very evident by who you brought on. Networking dinner or big conference?
Networking dinner.
Yeah. Why?
I like more one-on-one and intimate conversations where I really get to know people and make permanent, like long-lasting connections. Whereas conferences can feel, they feel sometimes too impersonal for me.
Gotcha. Very fair. Hire slow or fire fast?
Both?
Gotta pick one.
Oh, gosh.
It can even be a little bit more one.
What's that?
It can be like a 51-49, but you gotta pick one.
I'm a little bit more hire slow.
Okay.
And that's because firing is really unpleasant for everybody involved, including all the people who remain. And I think it causes a lot of organizational. It's basically money. Time is money, right? And so the transition in, the transition out, the sort of turnover is very costly to the organization. Even if you're saying you're going to fire fast, I think there's a lot of cost associated with that, which is actually money. It turns out it's actually very calculable. Whereas, hiring slow, if you can stand having people do a few jobs while you're hiring, like including yourself, playing a few roles to get to the right person, I think it's probably worth it, because then you've got to bring the person on board. You don't want to have to do that many times. Like, how many cycles of that can you really afford to do? The longevity at an organization really helps people, really helps organizations, I found.
Yeah, I also, whenever you look at the numbers, like you talk about how time is money, it's always so shocking how costly all of this stuff is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whatever number people are probably thinking for like a hire to leave, it's probably like 3-4x that actually to the organization. So
yes,
yes. I hear you. You want to make those decisions wisely.
Yes,
for sure. 10 small wins or one big moonshot?
Well, after I've started the company, which is the moonshot, after that, I'm looking for the incremental wins, because I'm trying to reduce risk. So the act of entrepreneurship itself is a huge moonshot. And then from there, you're trying to minimize risk all the way, really, until you get to scale and success. And then you're trying to go the other way again. You're trying to take moonshot risks again. It's very, the strategy changes at every phase.
Absolutely. What's your advice for someone that's deciding if they want to do the moonshot? Like, you've done it 3 times now. Actually, let's call it 4 because of the incubator. Mm-hmm. What's your advice for someone that isn't sure?
Between the two?
Yeah, between like if they want to do like a bootstrap, more lifestyle-y thing, or if they should do more of the like big moonshot, take the big entrepreneurship swing.
I think that if you take the big moonshot thing and you raise a lot of money, you have to realize that you are really on VC timelines, which is not completely under your control anymore. You're really on a path to delivering value on the stated timeline, which means it's an intense journey. You're going to need to deliver results and growth on a specific timeline. Whereas if you're doing this more bootstrapping and sort of cash flow business, et cetera, you're going to struggle more because you're doing all the jobs, and actually Minted initially was a $2.5 million raise. Definitely it was friends and family mostly. But I think you have more control of your destiny. You can grow organically. You can take a little time off. You can go work for you can go somewhere for the summer and work from there. I think especially in AI right now, it's the pace is so rapid and strategy is evolving so quickly, constantly, that I think it's a much more intense journey.
Yeah. So it's just understanding if you're ready for that intensity.
Intensity and a little bit of a lack of control over the situation, because you've taken money and you've promised people a much higher rate of growth.
Yeah, you have new bosses.
New bosses.
Okay, being early or being right?
Being right.
Okay, tell me more.
I think you can start things too early before the market is ready for them.
Yeah, and that's also the same as being wrong. Like, doesn't make sense. You're still not going to work out. Yeah.
And you can burn a lot of capital launching at the wrong time when people aren't ready for the idea or technology. You're doing, like, look at the AI situation the past couple of years. Mm-hmm. A lot of people who started a couple years ago would say they launched too early.
Mm-hmm. Which is so sad because it's so hard to know.
Yeah.
Very, very hard to know. Okay, never post on social media again, or never fundraise another $1 again. We won't hold you to it. This is just a hypothetical.
I would say, I guess I would have to say never post on social media again.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because I couldn't say that it was a good idea to not fundraise ever again, because I think you almost definitely right now it's like a growth industry, and there is going to be a land grab.
Yeah. Okay. Then it's just the worst of two evils. You'll pick that one. Okay, the last question, and you're a great person to ask this to. Is AI overhyped or underhyped?
Underhyped.
Okay. And why do you think?
I think, basically this sort of like recent development with Claude's latest model, I think, what was it, Mythos?
Yeah. Mythos.
Yeah. Mythos or Mythic? Sorry, Mythos.
I think Mythos.
Mythos, yeah. I think it's basically saying that the rate of improvement of the models is greater than we thought. And it means in, a couple of years, maybe 5 years, you're reaching a level of superintelligence that I'm not sure how I feel about it, to be honest. Like it's a little scary. So I think in some ways it's underhyped what AI will be able to do. I think maybe the job loss situation might be, I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about the predictions of white collar job loss right now.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure that one out myself.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel like maybe a tad overhyped.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, you need to hire the taste selectors. Like you still need to have these humans because people trust other people. But yeah, it's interesting. AI underhyped. Okay. Mariam, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
This has been the best interview. Thank you so much for all these great questions. I loved it.
This was so much fun.
It was really fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
On Trailblazers, we're always talking about multiplying your impact, and that's exactly what Athena helps you do. Athena pairs you with a world-class executive assistant who becomes a true force multiplier for your business and your life. Working with my Athena assistant has been transformative. Gab was instrumental in raising Park Rangers Capital's fund in ways that I could have never imagined an assistant could contribute, from closing six-figure checks to identifying new LPs we should meet to matching my tone perfectly in follow-up emails. He's elevated my capacity as a founder by giving me more time to focus on the highest leverage work. Athena isn't just about scheduling meetings, it's about unlocking leverage. Hundreds of founders, investors, and executives trust Athena to free their time and scale their impact. Athena is offering our listeners $2,000 off for their first year of service and priority onboarding. And you want that, trust me, there's a very long wait list. When you're ready to multiply your impact and free up time for the things only you can do, go to athenago.me/Erica-Wenger. That's athenago.me/ERICA-WENGER. Thanks so much for listening to the Trailblazers podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. You can also support our work by sharing it with a friend or leaving a quick review. It helps more contrarian builders find us. For more on Park Rangers Capital and our community of elephant founders, head to parkrangerscap.com or find me online at Erica_Wenger. Until next time, keep trailblazing.